She came straight into my room, stripped away the silence, and smiled bold lights in Sector 7 flickered as Danny Carter finished his shift at the mining station. Orbiting Kepler for 2-2, he had been working there for 6 months now, extracting rare minerals from the asteroid belt that surrounded the gas giant below him. The work was hard and lonely, but the pay was good enough to send money back home to his family on Earth. Donnie walked through the narrow corridors of the station. Heading toward his quarters, he was tired, and all he wanted was to collapse on his bunk and sleep for the next 10 hours. His boots made soft thuds against the metal floor and the hum of the life support systems filled the air around him. The station housed about 50 workers, but it felt empty most of the time. Everyone kept to themselves, focused on their own work and their own problems. He reached his door, he pressed his palm against the scanner and waited for it to unlock the mechanism. Clicked, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Danny stepped inside, expecting to find his small room exactly as he had left it that morning, but instead he froze in the doorway. There was someone in his room. She stood near his desk, her back to him, and she was tall, much taller than any human woman he had ever seen. Her skin had a faint blue tint to it, like ice under moonlight, and her hair fell down her back in waves of silver that seemed to shimmer even in the dim light of his quarters. She wore a simple outfit that looked like it was made from some kind of advanced fabric that shifted colors slightly as she moved. Danny's heart pounded in his chest. He wanted to call for security, but his voice caught in his throat. The woman turned to face him, and he saw her eyes. They were large and almond-shaped with irises that glowed a soft amber color. Her features were delicate but alien, with high cheekbones and a slightly elongated face that was both beautiful and strange. He smiled at him, and it was a bold, confident smile that seemed to say she knew exactly what effect she was having on him. "Well, are you?" Danny finally managed to say, his hand still resting on the door frame, ready to bolt if he needed. "Tummy. Name is Lyra," she said, and her voice was like music, soft and melodic with an accent he couldn't place. "I have been waiting for you, Danny." "Carter, how do you know my name?" he asked, taking a cautious step into the room. The door slid shut behind him with another hiss, and he felt a moment of panic at being trapped in here with this strangery. "No, many things about you," she said, tilting her head slightly as if studying him. "I know you have worked here for 6 months and 14 days. I know you send most of your earnings to your mother and sister on Earth. I know you are lonely, and you dream of the mountains near your childhood home." Donnie felt a chill run down his spine. How could she know all of that? He had never told anyone here about his family or his dreams. "Are you reading my mind?" he asked. "No," she said with a small laugh. "I am reading your data. Every human on this station has a file, and your file tells me much about you, but it does not tell me everything. That is why I am here to learn more." "What do you want from me?" Danny asked. He was starting to feel less afraid and more curious. This woman, or whatever she was, didn't seem hostile. She seemed genuinely interested in him. "You want to understand humans," she said simply. "My people have been watching your species for a long time, but we have never made direct contact until now. You are the first human I have met face to face." "Hey, Skur, people," Danny repeated. "Where are you from?" "Far from here," she said, waving her hand vaguely toward the window that looked out into space. "My world is many light years away. We are called the Valari, and we have been exploring the galaxy for thousands of your years. We have seen many species rise and fall, but humans are different, though." "Are we different?" he asked. "You are reckless," she said, but her tone was admiring, not critical. "You take risks that no other species would dare. You push yourselves beyond your limits. You explore places that would kill you just to see what is there. You fight wars that seem pointless. But somehow, you always survive and grow stronger. My people have been watching your expansion into space, and we are fascinated. We want to know what drives you, what makes you so determined to survive." And Thravadni didn't know what to say to that. He had never thought of humans as being particularly special. They were just trying to get by like everyone else. But looking at Lyra's face, he could see she was sincere. She really did want to understand Zoe. "You came here to study me," she said, stepping closer to him. "I chose you because your file showed you are thoughtful and kind. You work hard and you care about your family. You are a good example of what humans can, Badani felt his face grow warm at the compliment he wasn't used to being praised, especially not by a beautiful alien woman who had somehow snuck into his room. You could have just asked to meet me, he said. You didn't have to break into my courtesy. Did not break in, she said with another smile. I have access to all systems on this station. My technology is far more advanced than yours, but I understand that my presence here might be alarming to you. I apologize for startling you. It's okay, Danny said. He found himself relaxing a bit. She seemed harmless enough, and honestly, he was intrigued by her. So what do you want to know about humans? Everything, she said, her eyes lighting up. Tell me about your life. Tell me about your dreams. Tell me what you fear and what you hope. Fordney laughed. It was a strange request, but he found himself wanting to talk to her. Maybe it was because he had been so lonely for so long, or maybe it was because she was genuinely interested in what he had to say. Either way, he pulled out his chair and sat down, motioning for her to sit on his bunk. All right, he said. Where do I start? Start at the beginning, she said, settling onto the bunk with an grace that seemed impossible for someone so tall. Tell me about your childhood. He talked for hours. He told her about growing up in Colorado, about hiking in the Rocky Mountains with his father before he passed away. Told her about his mother, who worked 3 jobs to support him, and his sister. He told her about his decision to come to space to make enough money to give them a better life. He talked about the loneliness of the mining station and the monotony of his work, but also about the satisfaction he felt when he sent money home each month. Lyra listened intently, never interrupting. She asked questions, occasionally, always wanting to understand more about his emotions and his motivations. Danny found himself opening up to her in ways he never had with anyone else. There was something about her presence that made him feel safe, like he could say anything and she would not judge him. As the hours passed, Danny learned about Lyra too. She told him about her world, Valara, which was a planet covered in vast oceans and floating cities. She told him about her people, who valued knowledge and exploration. Above all else, she explained that the Valari had reached a point in their evolution where they had solved most of their physical needs, and now they spent their time seeking to understand the universe and all the life within it. But we have lost something, she said, her voice growing softer. We have become too comfortable to safe. We no longer take risks the way we once did, and without risk, there is no growth. That is why we are so fascinated by humans. You remind us of what we used to. Badani felt a strange sense of pride that he had never thought of humanity's recklessness as a good thing. But maybe Lyra was right. Maybe their willingness to take chances was what made them special. Can I ask you something? Danny said. Of course, Lyra replied. Me, he said. Really? Why did you choose me out of all the humans you could have? Lyra was quiet for a moment, her amber eyes studying his face. Then she stood and walked over to where he sat. She knelt down in front of him, so their eyes were level, and she took his hands in hers. Her skin was cool to the touch, and her fingers were longer than Hispiko's. You are kind, she said softly, because you work in the darkness of space far from your home, and you do it for people you love. Because when I read your file, I saw someone who had not given up even when things were hard. You are strong, Danny Carter, not in the way of warriors, but in the way that matters most. You endure. Danny felt his throat tighten. He had never thought of himself as strong. He was just doing what he had to do. But hearing Lyra say those words made him feel seen in a way he never had before. Thank you, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Lyra smiled and stood up. I should go, she said. My ship is waiting, and I have much to report to my people, but I wanted to meet you first to see if humans were truly as remarkable as we believe it. Are we? Danny asked, standing up as well. She said. You are more remarkable than I imagined. You have shown me that strength is not just about power or technology. It is about heart and will. Your species has both in abundant. She walked to the door, and it slid open at her approach. Danny followed her into the corridor, which was empty at this late hour. Will I see you again? He asked. Ked, perhaps, she said, turning to look at him. I hope so. Danny Carter, you have given me much to think. Abuchi reached out and touched his cheek gently, and then she was gone, walking down the corridor with that same impossible grace. Danny stood there for a long moment, staring after her, wondering if the whole thing had been some kind of strange dream. But The next morning when he woke up, there was something on his desk that hadn't been there before. It was a small crystal about the size of his thumb that glowed with a soft amber light. He picked it up and held it to the light, and he saw images flickering inside it, mountains and rivers and vast fields of stars.